Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Comic Book Gentlemen, the podcast where we use our decades of being giant nerds to discuss the most divisive issues in the fandom. I'm your host, Greg, joined by my constant co-host, Dave. Dave, how's it going?
The biggest of nerd.
The biggest of nerd. Wow, you're growing by the minute,
I'm growing by the minute.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk Thunderbolts, New Avengers.
Thunderbolts.
Slash New Avengers.
Slash New Avengers.
we knew the asterisk meant something.
We knew the asterisk meant something.
I think what last episode I said...
Spoilers,
yeah. Which is all over Instagram and stuff like that. But I think I said Dark Avengers was my guess. So I was surprised.
Right, yeah.
Which we'll get into. But before we get into that, you just got back from Calgary Expo. How was it?
It was terrific.
That's awesome.
It was amazing. Some of the highlights, I got to meet Jason Aaron, Jim Zub, a couple writers that I very much enjoy. Got to see Frank Miller.
Yeah.
But that lineup was ridiculous. Got to meet some actors, Nicholas Hoult, and of course the highlight, the big one was Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Just a really well run show. Excellent. Recommend to anybody if you're ever down in the area. Mm-hmm. And you can even just get out for a day. Like they're doing such a great job with it as far as food vendors and outside. So there's lots to eat. There's lots of various different things to check out depending on what your geek niche is. Yep. It was great. It was really, really well done. Can't say enough.
No, I'm very jealous. It's been a long time since I've been to an expo, so it's and that always blew my mind whenever I went. I usually went to the Edmonton one, which is like how many different fandoms are represented throughout this entire thing.
It's like, expanded so much.
Yeah.
And I was really happy to see because the last couple times, and I think this was coming off the pandemic, it was really focused on innumerable, there's so many Funko Pop salesman. But this time was like you saw the manga, you saw the comic books, right? And they actually managed to section it off properly. So if you're into comic books, all the comic book guys were over here.
Nice.
Right? If you're into manga, it was over here. It was really, really well done. So many, both me and my wife said, I don't think, it was at the level of uncomfortableness that we were not in cosplay because there were so many people in cosplay. Some amazing cosplay on display by just fans.
Hey, next year, you have to cosplay type of thing. As we've talked before on this podcast, you are a collector.
Mm-hmm.
You're digging in through the bins trying to find the good one. What was your number one find you got this time around?
Number one find for me this year was probably that I actually managed to purchase was I managed to get a issue of Uncanny X-Men that was missing, which was issue 108 and 107, which was the first appearance of the Imperial Guard.
Oh, really?
Of the Shi'ar.
That's sick.
So and the Spelljammers.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really? That's cool.
So I was really happy about that. As we discussed earlier, I was fretting over a Amazing Spider-Man 129 first appearance of the Punisher, and I fretted over it too much. And when I went back to just bite the bullet, it was gone. So,
wow, I couldn't imagine. That's crazy.
That's $3,900 still in my pocket.
Next year it's going to be $4,500.
Yeah, it probably will be. That's the amazing things about these shows, and even just talking to some of the vendors, just the cost of comics from a standpoint of if they're key issues and stuff. Mm-hmm. There's some money to be had. Some people are pretty ridiculous as far as the pricing, but I mean, there's a lot of vendors, and that's what I have to say. My shout out to those guys was a lot of them were very fair. They were in the ballpark of what they've been selling for. Add an extra 15% for them. Yep. A little bit of a convenience fee for having it there, and it was a reasonable price. So I got to give the majority of the guys there credit.
No, it's good to hear. That's good to hear. But no, definitely if you're near an expo, make sure to go check it out. It's always a good time. And it's always just nice being around other geeks,
Oh, it is. It's super
refreshing.
It's so positive. So many cosplay people stopping each other and just oh, your costume's awesome, and they're taking pictures, and everybody's so gracious. We came across a guy that did cosplay as Samurai Spider-Man.
Oh,
so it was
really?
a full-on samurai gear, but it looked like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And my nephew was just absolutely struck by that. So I went over and politely asked him, do you mind to get a picture? And they're always so gracious. They're always so good.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
But speaking of gracious, we're going to move on over to our topic for today, which is Marvel's Thunderbolt, their latest MCU movie. Again, / New Avengers, asterisk type of thing.
Yeah.
So let's start at the very beginning. What were your expectations going into this movie?
To laugh.
Yep.
that was the big thing. I think just the carryovers from Black Widow in not only Yelena, if I'm pronouncing that correct, I always say her name wrong, and the Red Guardian, like they had a great dynamic, and they were very comical. Like I found Red Guardian was just outwardly funny, whereas Yelena would be like more of like she would just say things or do things that had a little bit of humor there.
Yeah.
And then some of the other guys that were in it, I was like, yeah, I'm hoping to laugh a lot. That was my as far as the bars I was setting.
Exactly, right? I think, going off the trailers and everything like that, I agree with you. I was very hopeful. Like, they definitely leaned into the comedy in the trailers, which is always good to see. I mean, that's usually my favorite type of Marvel movie. Like, my two favorites are Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy, that very much humorous movies. So it's like, okay, I like the humor feeling. But yeah, no, I don't know what I expected when it came to like, the asterisks, and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, how big is this movie going to be? Yeah. Obviously they have the Sentry as the main quote unquote villain or whatever. Yeah. So like, how big of a threat is it going to be? I think that was always my biggest issue with Suicide Squad on DC's side was they had these crazy threats there. It's like, why aren't the Avengers involved? Like, where's everybody? Like, or sorry, I guess it'd be the Justice League. Yeah, it's like why wouldn't Superman be showing up for this? And I always felt like that was the thing they were missing of like, you need to have such a situation that yes, it's important and big, but you need it so that it's not too big or it's like dirty enough that you need the Suicide Squad / Thunderbolts to deal with. So I was like kind of like hopeful for that, like the situation would kind of build into that. Yeah. I don't know, any other thoughts before we get into that?
No, that was, I mean, I was looking forward to seeing some of the characters. Like I liked Russell as US agent. Yep. Obviously the Red Guardian, obviously I guess if they're now considering her the Black Widow, like a lot of the characters that were in it, I liked in the movie, the various movies they were like. So, I was overall, I had a positive feel going in, just not expectations.
Yeah, and I think for me, it definitely felt more like, based on the trailers and stuff, it felt like they're again going back to that classic MCU feeling of it, which I was really looking forward to. Obviously, like the last couple phases have felt a little bit off, so it felt like they were finally getting their footing with this one. Yeah. But yeah, now we're getting into the movie. Before we get into spoilers, what's your overall rating? Do you think people should go check it out? Is it like, where's it ranking?
I would have given it, out of a 10, I would have given it a 7. Okay. Somewhere between a 7 and an 8. Okay. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
So I had a really weird experience right after the movie, because like my wife watched it with me, and for her, she was like, "This is my top 3 movie." Like she thought it was so good. She was like, "This is amazing." And the second we got out of the movie, I was like, "I don't know if I like it." Like I literally was flip flopping so much right after the movie, and it took me a couple days to really sit down and be like, okay, what is my actual ranking in this movie? And I do think I land about an 8. Yep. Like, I think it ended up being a really good, solid movie. There's some issues I have with it, but it was so funny because, like, I think this happens for a lot of movies I see where it's like my expectations are way too high. Yeah. Like, and I was expecting like Endgame or, like I was expecting Guardians of the Galaxy. But then like, because I was expecting that and because it wasn't that good, I was like, oh, it wasn't that good of a movie. But then you let it sit with you for a couple days. And you're like, actually, it was really good. Like, I actually was like, I want to go see it again type of thing. So it's like, I would also say go see it in theaters. I would say it's an 8 out of 10. Like, it's a really good, solid MCU movie. And probably one of the best over the last few years, for sure, hands down.
Oh, yes, by far.
Yeah. Like, I think the only other one I would put above it would be Deadpool Wolverine. Yeah. Which again, that's not point, even, and that's not even an MCU movie. That's a Fox movie.
Yeah, So you could say a true blue MCU movie. This is the best one they've done in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a few years, which is really good. But yeah, let's get into some details about this movie, right? Yeah. So, do you want to start with the positives, the negatives? What are you feeling?
Oh, you throw it back and forth.
Okay, so what was your initial positive of the movie? What's something that you really liked?
I liked the chemistry between the characters.
Yes, they were all great.
I thought that all of the characters, minus Taskmaster, I thought the dynamic between them was great. Like just the especially when they first show up and they meet each other and they're basically one's there to kill the other kind of thing. Yeah. And it was just it was just really, really fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed the dynamic, and that carried through the entire movie. Like even after they became a team, quotes on both ends, they still had that dynamic of kind of picking at each other, which I thought was great. And for a movie that I was going in and I'd heard so much, but like people were like, "Oh, it's so dark, so dark," and I don't think it was dark.
No,
I think it had a dark, what people would consider a dark subject matter, because it's not something people like to talk a lot about, being, depression, anxiety, mental illness. But I thought they tackled it well, and so I wouldn't define the movie as dark.
No, it's definitely dark in MCU standards, in the sense of like tone, I guess you could call it, right? Like the only other movies I could think of like that had like a darker tone to it, quote unquote, would be like, I guess, Infinity War, type of thing, where everything was dying, or like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was a little bit more toned down, type of thing. But again, way still funny and adventurous compared to like any other movie, like the Batman compared to this type of thing, which is crazy. But no, I 100% agree with you. I think the casting was out of this world. Obviously, these are all characters that have been building up throughout the years, and again, they were all great actors that they got in these random roles. They're like, hey, let's bring them back, and I think that was a great opportunity. Again, it showcases the benefit of the MCU. The point of the MCU is that all these are supposed to be interconnected, and like to bring people back is the whole point of doing this, right? But you brought up Taskmaster. Man, I feel so bad for that actress.
I feel bad for the actress, and I feel bad for the character.
Yeah.
Because the character is an amazing character that they could have done so much more with.
But I feel like what happened was people reacted to the Black Widow Taskmaster, and most people hated it.
Oh, very much so.
And that's why I feel like it was almost a joke of like, we know everybody hates this person, we're not going to make you watch a whole movie. I actually didn't hate it. Like, I actually liked that. And I felt like the way it interwove into the Red Room, there's a lot more you could have delved into that, right? And I was excited to see them do more with that Taskmaster, but then they just shoot her in the head. It's like, hey,
I was excited to see the bullet go in her head. That's what I was excited for, because it was just a absolutely ruined opportunity with a great character that I just think they could have done so much more with. And I'm not talking about like, oh, they made her a female instead of a male, and no, just like the base of the character.
Oh yeah,
there could have been so much more, and you did get some glimpses of it in that initial fight. Like she had the shield and everything else. Like she was doing the moves of other characters and stuff. But it just it was just unfortunate they decided to go, so many people hated this, we're just going to put a bullet in her head.
Yeah, like at least you could have given her like 5 more minutes.
Yeah, just something. Like maybe she could have lasted until they got out.
Exactly, right? I thought maybe it was going to be a bait and switch of like, oh, she's so robotic, even a bullet to the head, she can like repair herself.
I thought they were going to bring her back.
Yeah, exactly. Or not Gamora, Nebula style, right? Yeah. But then it's like that room just, and it's like, okay, no, she's pretty freaking dead. I also thought it was really funny that it was Ghost that kills her. Because it's one of those things of like, it really showcases Ghost again. Like she's also a killer. Like she can really, especially because when you left her at Ant-Man 2, she was trying to get like rehabilitated, and then just to her be like, nope, I'd kill people, I don't give a shit, type of thing. It was a very interesting way to introduce Ghost. And then I did like the fact that they brought it up of like, oh, they talked to Yelena and they're like, you knew Taskmaster, how do you feel about us killing her? And she's like, it is what it is, man. Like it really showcases the like absolute like soullessness of their world, that they're just like, I felt bad for her, but in the end she's dead. Like it is what it is, right? It's like, oh, okay, jeez. Yeah. So that's a positive. What's a negative that you had for the movie?
Negative was the Taskmaster. Like I wish and that extends back to the Black Widow movie. It just could have been. It could have been more. It's a character that I really enjoy. I've seen through the years interact with Spider-Man, the Avengers, everybody, and it was just unfortunate that they messed it up in the Black Widow. They corrected it by killing her, I guess, in the next one. That was that's a leftover disappointment from the other movie. I would say the pacing was a little off. That was the big thing for me. Like, it just seemed like it felt like they were in the basement forever.
Yes, 100%.
It felt like they were in the basement forever, and then all of a sudden they're speeding along, and then it just seemed very rushed. But I find most of these movies now feel very rushed because I'm now used to watching 10 1-hour episodes of X, whatever it is. So I would say pacing was the biggest problem.
So I'm glad you brought that up. This is actually my number one gripe with the movie is the pacing, because that was my biggest thing. Like I said, we got out of the movie theater. I was like, something just feels wrong, and I'm like, what felt wrong to me? And the funny thing is that my wife and I are actually rewatching the MCU, but we're just watching the ones we enjoy. Like, we're skipping the ones like we're not watching Dark World, we're not watching Iron Man 2, type of thing. So it's like we're watching the ones that we really like, and we just watched Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy right around the same time we watched the movie. And it's so funny to me how much stuff they were able to stuff into those movies.
Yeah.
But then, like, 10 years later, they get the pacing wrong for this movie.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you. Like they were in that, I don't know what to call it, but like that...
the vault?
The vault, the disposal area, for like an hour. And it was like, wow, any other Marvel movie would have had like 6 different set pieces by now.
Yeah.
And like the funny thing is, I get what they were trying to do with it. They were trying to show each character's flaw and like them trying to work as a team, but then like because they're flaws, they can't get together, right?
And in most cases, like, you remember, like, these characters, for the most part, outside of the Black Widow character, it's like most of them haven't had a lot of screen time. Like, screen time is in, like, this is who this character really is, right? So I can understand them doing a little bit of that deep dive, which happened, but again, it was just like, I don't know. The pacing was.
But let me pitch you this, and I wonder if you agree with me. Like, and this is kind of skipping to the end of the movie, but like then you had the scene where they're going through each other's mental hellscape thing.
Yeah.
But they only do Yelena and Sentry, and then everybody else just shows up like, oh, I went through my own thing off screen.
Yes.
It's like, why didn't you get rid of them climbing up that shaft and then showed them going through their mental hellscape? Like, that would have made way more sense to me.
I don't think you get rid of some of it. It just could have been a lot shorter.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had one funny little quip as they're climbing up the elevator, and that's it. But instead it was like, how much time did they spend in the elevator?
Well, and the funny thing is, like, the point of the elevator scene, like I said, it was trying to show like how they can't work as a team because they hate, like, they're just not good people. But then you had the exact same thing happen when the CIA agents are storming the building. The exact same point of those scenes is to show they can't work as a team.
Yeah.
But when they do, it actually does work out. And so it's like, you just get rid of one of those. I don't think you need to have them climbing up the shaft. You could have had the exact same experience of just them coming to the front door, and then suddenly the CIA agents are coming at them. They have to deal with them. And I feel like you would have gotten the exact same dynamic, but then you could have used that time that you save from that part and save it for the end of the movie where you really delve into each character's psyche and their trauma, right? And that I feel like that would have been the fix I would have pitched. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a way to do it. I mean, they could have also, like, they could have done the same thing to a degree with what they did do with at least US Agent, where he's touching them and you're getting a quick glimpse. Yeah. They could have done that with all the characters, through that hour-long period in the vault that they didn't do it with, and which didn't really move anything forward. Like, it felt like there were areas where nothing was moving the story forward, and there was a lot of time put into it, and then the areas where it was moving the story forward, where you're getting some very, very good information about a character or the plot of the storyline, they rushed it.
Yeah.
It was it was like ass backwards.
It was weird. I wonder if like they must have started filming this during COVID or something like that. So maybe the first half of the movie was during COVID, where they had like limitations on what they could do, right? And then like you're saying about like, oh, let's delve into characters. Like you said, they did that for Yelena, obviously. They did it for John Walker. Why didn't they do it for Ghost? Like, it's so crazy to me, the way they built up Ghost in Ant-Man 2, where she basically is like Yelena, where it's like, I was a kid, but then I was forced to just start killing people for like a government organization. Like, she has some crazy trauma that you could delve into as well. Yeah. But for some reason, she was just kind of like
Red Guardian.
Red Guardian, like his whole thing about like I want to be Captain America but Russian is like crazy. Like, why didn't they? And even Bucky, like I know Bucky's had a lot more screen time than the other characters, but you still could have done him a final, I'm dealing with my trauma, I can move on type of thing, right? Yeah. So that's probably my number one gripe with the movie is just pacing and like the way they chose to do. Like I said, it didn't help that I was watching some of the best MCU movies and seeing the way they pace things. Yeah. Like they were introducing characters, they were introducing each character's trauma, and they did it in the same amount of time, but it felt way more organic and natural in my opinion. Yeah. So the other pet peeve I had was, obviously I love the cast, I thought it was amazing, but it really felt like Julia Louis-Dreyfus and her assistant were in a completely different movie. I don't know if you felt like this, but they felt like they were hamming it up a little too much.
When they brought her in and who she was, and she was, what she was setting up and what she's involved with, and if you know her from the comic books, it's just like oh, okay, this is interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting choice of casting, by the way, as well. Mm-hmm. But then in this, it just seemed like she seemed incompetent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just how did she get that far?
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree. Too slapsticky on one hand, but also just the level of incompetence. Mm-hmm. It was just I don't even know how you would have gotten where you are.
Well, not even just her, but also her assistant. Yeah. Her assistant was acting like this was her first day on the job, and she's just finding out the CIA kills people. And it's you've been her assistant. What do you mean you're just finding out you kill people? Yeah. It was blowing my mind, type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, I don't hate them. I just think the way they were, their tone compared to the rest of the movie,
I don't think
a little bit off.
Julia. I don't think Dreyfus was the best casting.
No?
For that character, because she is better known for comedy.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right. So some comedians do an amazing job, playing another role mm-hmm. that you would not normally associate with them. I don't think she's one of them.
Mm. Fair enough. I felt like her first couple, obviously when she was in Black Widow and when she was in a couple other shows popping up, it was really quick. Mm-hmm. I thought the other stuff she was in, she kind of had that tone a little bit better of she can joke, but she's also sinister. Mm-hmm. And then what was up with her, psychological scene that Bob did where she's watching her dad get shot? That was nothing,
Yeah, I don't really okay.
What was the point? Yeah, I thought it was going to showcase I'm Hydra, type of thing or something like that. It was just okay. So, but anyways, so that was my other thing, was just that felt a little bit off. And then it was funny that her assistant at the end was never mind, I'm back with you, type of thing. I just want to raise, it's okay. But let's go back to the positives. I loved everything to do with Red Guardian. David Harbour knocked it out of the park. And then, you're saying, he was very much a comedy role, but then Yelena had a way more subtle comedy. But then when they did their tearjerker moment, heart to heart, I needed my dad and you weren't there for me.
Yeah.
Wow, what a scene.
Yeah, that was, he's one of those guys that get, as an actor gets it. He can pull off the, he was making you laugh just about every scene he's in. Mm-hmm. When he's driving the limo, when he's cleaning up the house, when his daughter first shows up, just everything about him can be so funny. But it's the actor that can in that moment flip the switch, and mm-hmm. That was a very this is not funny. This is a very serious moment, and I appreciated that, and I thought they touched on some. There was that moment. There was a lot of other moments where they just really touched on a very human aspect of stuff that probably a lot of people just go through on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. Everybody's experienced depression. Everybody's experienced anxiety. Everybody's experienced their own form of mental illness from time to time. So you got to see that in all the various different characters, and then you had the main character who was dealing with a very severe form of mental illness in Bob.
Yeah.
who I loved.
Yes.
In Sentry, and just seeing the full that full blown effect of it was just I thought it was handled very, very, very well.
Yeah. It definitely I think the emotional strong points of the end really made up for the lack of pacing. Mm-hmm. At least we got to the point where it's the pacing was a little bit but what it led up to was really, really good.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Bob. Let's talk about Sentry.
Bob.
What's your opinion on Sentry before we get into the movie? Are you a big Sentry guy or?
I was not a big Sentry guy in the comics.
Yep.
When they first kind of brought him about, and then they introduced him, and then they retconned, how he's always been around, and all that kind of stuff. I when they started bringing the Void aspect in, when he really started going bad, ripping Hercules in half was just absolutely oh my god. Mm-hmm. It got better. Mm-hmm. But I thought their portrayal of him in this was so much better, because I really didn't see a difference in Robert Reynolds and Sentry in the comic books. Mm-hmm. Right? He knew he was Sentry. He was afraid of being the Sentry because he was going to bring on the Void. But in this, it was Bob had his own distinct character of being somebody who did not have self-confidence, was, just riddled with all kinds of insecurities and mental illness that you look at that and go, wow, and he's the most powerful superhuman there is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have confidence in himself. Like, it was just I thought it was for that character was just a game changer as far as the choice they made to make the character really stick out.
Yep.
I just thought it was, and the actor that played him, who also played Bob in Maverick.
Oh, really? He's just super Bob.
Yeah, he just if the character's name is Bob,
he's on his way.
Will play him. But that was like I thought the actor portrayed it super well, like his awkwardness when he first showed up, and his just like I thought he just did so well portraying that character, and especially that shift of like, okay, I'm being manipulated, but I'm starting to show the confidence, but now I'm showing like overconfidence, and then ultimately the void.
Yeah,
coming out.
And again, the symbolism for bipolar disorder, right? Like he had the manic high. He's like, I can do this. I'm Sentry. I'm amazing. And then just the crazy low of turning into the void, right?
Yeah.
Like I was never a big Sentry guy. It was really interesting because when I first started reading comic books, you could tell that's when they were trying to push Sentry a lot, the early 2000s. And so it was always one of those guys like he was just there. And I was just like, okay, like I don't know what he's supposed. Like he fights Hulk in World War Hulk.
He was like Marvel's other Superman.
Yeah.
Because he had Hyperion.
Yeah.
But then he's like another Superman.
Which is funny. Did you watch Comic Tropes video on Sentry?
No.
I really recommend it. He did it just right as Thunderbolts was coming out. It's really interesting. It actually encouraged me. I want to go read the original run of Sentry. But it's really interesting. He talked about the whole wannabe Superman thing of it all and stuff like that. But anyways, but yeah, it's one of those things of Sentry was always just a really strong guy that has mental health problems. So like, it's interesting that like, the way they portrayed it in the movies, I think this is one of the examples of the MCU doing the character better in the movie than they did in the comics.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
This is one of those times we're gonna say they did they made a character better. 100%.
So the one criticism I've heard on like scrolling through reels and stuff like that is it definitely, again, pacing issue. It definitely felt like he suddenly learned how to become Sentry within like the snap of a finger. Like he went from barely being able to move a glass of water to suddenly I can fly and I can shoot, I can telekinesis, type of thing.
And that's maybe where the comic book handled it better because when you first got introduced to Sentry, he was fully capable, fully aware of his powers and abilities. So yeah, in that particular case, yes, again. But we've seen this numerous times in superhero movies, like, especially when they spend so much time on the origin. It's like, oh, it's Spider-Man, I just learned how to jump on walls and stuff. But by the end of the movie, it's like he's just like Spider-Man of 20 years experience. Like, it happens all the time. But this was very definitive because they actually showed you like him struggling to use his powers, not even knowing what his powers were.
Yeah, my theory about it is he actually did know how to use his powers, but he was trying to hide it from, obviously, Julia Louis-Dreyfus because he knew she kind of wanted to manipulate him. But then again, he let her manipulate her, so it's like how much footing does that theory have? Because like he knew how to do the look into people's mind and look at the sad things. He does it to Yelena right away. He does it to Walker pretty early on, and like he even does it to... I can't remember her character's name. I keep calling Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but like, is it Valentina? Valentina. Yeah, I keep calling Valentina. But he does know how to use some of his powers. So it's to me, it wasn't like a huge leap that he was able to figure out because to me, it almost felt like he was just hiding the fact that he knew how to use it. Plus, he's shown throughout the movie that he has memory issues too. So there's a chance that like, okay, when he just gets out of the void, he has no memories, has no idea. But then as he's progressing further and further into his high, he remembers how to do things. So that's kind of my theory on it. The other thing I'll highlight as a really cool thing is, man, the void, like the whole shadow power thing is whatever, but like the way they made him look was so cool. You just kind of
make out his eyes.
Yeah, it was so cool.
That was really well done. A lot better than the alien-y looking thing that they did in Siege when he finally went like full void. That was so much their portrayal of him was so much better in that regard.
What was your reaction when he blipped the little girl?
I thought like I felt it coming.
Okay.
I've seen the trailers, so I saw them. I just had a feeling, and then it happened, and then it was just happening. Like it happened way more than I thought it was going to happen. Like he was just shadowing everybody.
Yeah. Well, so my thing is like the second they showed the little girl dying, I was like, oh, they're all coming back. Because
Yeah.
there's no way Marvel would ever be allowed to show him killing a child and not have some way to reverse it, type of thing.
Well, that was the thing, is like, even when
Yelena.
went in there and and disappeared, I was like, there's obviously like, there are obviously that, like, at first when I saw the trailers, I was like, oh my god, like, he's just like,
How are they
just
gonna fight this?
annihilating people. But then now to know that they're in this, like, dreamscape, I guess the only way I want to call it. Yeah, you knew that wasn't going to happen. A combination of Yelena going in there, the kid dying, so many people getting shadowed. It was like, yeah, they're not gonna leave this.
Well, and this brings up an interesting thought process. Is he almost shadows pretty much all of Manhattan, right? Which is 90% of Marvel Universe. So, like, theoretically, Kingpin got hit. Daredevil got hit.
Would they not have?
Exactly. This is what I'm saying. Like, I wonder if are they going to talk about this happening in the next season of Daredevil, or are they going to ignore it like the blip and like it never happened type of thing? Because like I couldn't imagine.
Depends on timeline when it happened.
And so that's the other exactly. So like, theoretically, this is all happening like consensually, whatever the term is. But like, I wonder if they're building it up to showcase that Daredevil Born Again is in an alternate universe, which is why you don't have any connection to the MCU yet. Because in Born Again, they really had no connection to the MCU. So maybe that's what they're building up to Doomsday, is to showcase that is actually also an alternate reality that they'll eventually mush, and that'll be season 2 of Daredevil, is they get mushed into maybe. Right? So that's kind of my theory, because again, that was my biggest complaint from Daredevil Born Again, was there's no MCU
But he's already
connection.
been in Spider-Man.
But maybe that was an alternate version of whatever, right? And and maybe Spider-Man is also technically an alternate universe, type of thing. Maybe like when he did the Doctor Strange thing, it flicked him out enough that it created an alternate universe or something like that.
Yeah, maybe.
So that's my theory. We'll see what happens. I hope they bring it up in Daredevil, because I'd love to know Kingpin again going, look at these superheroes, they're psychopaths, and I want him to talk to Julie Louis-Dreyfus and being like, hey, what the fuck are you doing, type of thing, and like him and her in a room together would be completely wild conversation, So yeah, any other thoughts about Thunderbolts, the new Avengers?
No, I enjoyed it. It was a fun show. I still, like, the comic book fan of myself, would have loved to have still seen like the actual Thunderbolts, like that group of characters. The renditions that they've had since are just
never gonna live up.
Not the same thing. But for like that aside, like them just co-opting the Thunderbolts name with an asterisk, like I liked the group. Like, they were just the dynamics. I came out liking, like, really my meter on Ghost hasn't really changed. Like, I didn't feel like she really pushed the needle enough. Like, she didn't have enough going on that really got me to the point where I was like, oh, that's an awesome character or something.
But she killed Taskmaster for you.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
That was the one check mark. That was good. But I felt like U.S. Agent got a lot more. Bucky, just even more from what he's already had. Red Guardian, like, all these guys got, like, there was enough screen time to really kind of get to know the characters a little bit more. And I loved the dynamics. And it was just a fun movie. Like, I just, even though it had that darker element of subject matter, it was funny. Yeah. It was funny. It was enjoyable. There was action. The scene between the Thunderbolts trying to take down the Sentry was just was laughable.
Oh, that was so funny.
It was so.
And then
ridiculous.
them just running away.
Yeah, basically, just like, holy crap, like, like on the heels of basically him just taking off Bucky's arm and throwing it at him. It's just kind of like, just leave.
Yeah, exactly. Let me pitch to you. Do you think it would have been better as a TV show, or like a special, type of thing, to give it more time to delve into characters?
Yeah, that's about the only things. Like, with those longer episodic things, you can get really granular with a lot of the characters and stuff. It would have been a slower grind, because maybe they would have spent more time, like, you seeing and them acting out, what was happening with U.S. Agent, and what was, like. But was that necessary?
Which is
like, I felt like the flashbacks that they gave were enough.
Okay.
Again, a character like Ghost, they could have given a little more play. But outside of that, like, I felt as a movie, outside of the weird kind of disjointed
pacing,
kind
tone.
of pacing action aspect of it. I liked it.
It is a good movie, and I feel like I always harp on things even though I like them, type of thing. So, but no, I do agree.
That's
like
what this podcast is about.
Exactly. That's our tagline. It's really great, but we hate it. But anyways, I think it's I would say it's top 10 for me right now, like for sure, top 10. And I'll definitely rewatch it again. Like a movie I just rewatched today was Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I remember watching it for the first time being like, it was good, but it wasn't that good. But the more I watch it, the more I love it. Because you really start seeing the nuance that they do with the storyline and the characters and stuff like that. So I think this is going to be one of this movie. This is just going to grow and get better the more you watch it.
So, things that I take away from some of that, like Guardians of the Galaxy was a great movie. Mm-hmm. Number 2 was a good movie. Number 3 was good. Like I would say, out of all of them that got trilogies, that one outside of the Avengers, that one pretty much nailed it on all 3. Like the first is always going to be the best. The second was pretty damn close. The third was right there with the other 2. The only thing that with any of these shows, like I think the reason why people really like the Guardians of the Galaxy, it was action packed. It was a space adventure. It had a lot of fun to it, but the comedy was the central aspect of it. Like people really enjoyed the laughing and stuff, like the ridiculous jokes and the stupid stuff, like with Drax and But if you go back and you look at the comics, that's not how they are. Yeah, they're not a bunch of clowns.
No,
right? So I mean, you could that could have been an epic failure, an absolute epic failure. It's just like they nailed the comedy of it really, really well. So everybody's now adopted and gone like, oh, well, that's how Drax is, and that's how this person is. They're just like idiots.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, they're not. They're not actually idiots. They just portrayed them like idiots in the show, and you started to see that a little bit in the Thunderbolts, because at the beginning is like, I would say that the lead idiot was Red Guardian. Yeah. Right, by far. By the end of the movie, Red Guardian was there, but now also U.S. Agent was starting to show some signs of being a dipshit, like dumb. Which I'm just like, okay, don't overplay this. Like there's a way to do comedy, and there's a way to play characters where Gamora was not an idiot, but she still did some funny shit. Yeah. Right? There's a way to do that. You don't have to make everybody an idiot to make it funny.
No, that's a good point to bring up. Especially as we start now, going from Thunderbolts into the rest of the MCU here. What was your opinion on the new Avengers reveal ending?
It was expected, but I mean, like, in all honesty, like, I look at it and I'm like, really? These guys, like, outside of the Sentry, which would be the only guy that could hold his own against
the original Avengers,
Thor, and all these other guys, like, this Avengers team is shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the worst Avengers team ever.
Which is to be the point, right?
Yes. Avengers with a Z.
Yeah. That was great. Yeah. But you literally have 3 super soldiers.
They said it in the movie. Do all of us just punch and shoot stuff? Yes. Yeah. That's all you do.
So part of me wishes they would get one more movie or something of them being the full new Avengers is showing how shitty they are. But I feel like what's going to happen is you're going to go straight into Doomsday and they're just going to get wiped out. And it's just okay.
Or amalgamated with the other team.
Exactly, right? Whatever. Whatever. I wish they get one. And the idea of having a quote-unquote evil but more just shitty Avengers team is really funny to me.
Yeah, it's kind of almost across, it's almost like it's not quite the new Avengers. Yeah. And it's not the Dark Avengers. Yeah. It's somewhere in between where they're like, we're trying to be good, but we're really not that talented because all we do is shoot and punch stuff. But we're not the Dark Avengers with a sinister, but we might get manipulated. Yeah. So it's somewhere.
It gives me the Boys minus Homelander, type of thing, where they're all just kind of douchebags and they're just kind of there, type of the Seven or whatever. It'll be interesting to see where they go. So the post credit scene was Fantastic Four. Obviously, it was very quick, just the ship coming through. But did it get you more hyped? Did you get more intrigued? What was your thoughts?
I think it's a red herring. Okay, and this is why is so the last thing I would do in a movie is go, oh, we have this Fantastic Four movie coming out. Probably seen the trailers. Galactus, world's getting destroyed, and then in the show before it, we're going to show the ship showing up, which is the Fantastic Four arriving on this Earth from another dimension. Okay, so I now know the end of the other movies. So I don't think that's who's on that ship.
Interesting.
I think it's from there.
Yep.
I think it's Doom.
Oh, really? Ooh,
that's my guess. Okay. Is that is Doom.
Yeah. So my theory is the Fantastic Four lose. And so, like, what's going to happen is maybe it's not Galactus that kills them all, but maybe it's, like, Reed going crazy. Or maybe even Reed just thinks his family's dead, so he goes crazy and goes full Maker or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I think what happens is the Fantastic Four loses, their dimension crumbles, and that's the lifeboat with Thing, Johnny Storm, and Invisible Woman. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to punch through into the main MCU dimension going, guys, we're fucked. Like there's a multi-dimensional Doom coming to murder us all. Right. And that's the life that'll be the end of the movie, is the lifeboat punching into the MCU universe.
Yeah, I think I think they haven't, like, I think they would leave the Fantastic Four escaping, in whatever rendition or however they do it, for the actual Fantastic Four movie. And I think this was just it was a red herring in the sense of, like, oh, look, we're going to show you the Fantastic Four symbol. And I don't think it's the Fantastic Four. Like, there were some people saying, like, oh, maybe it's Franklin. They put Franklin. I was like, LS Superman.
Exactly.
Like, no, they're not going to do... Like, if they do that, I will shake my head endlessly. Because, like, how ridiculous could you get? I think it's somebody else, something or somebody else that they've sent... Or that maybe they didn't even send. It just got a hold of their ship and left.
Yeah, like you said, maybe Doctor Doom was just fucking with them, stole their ship and left, right?
Yeah.
And that could be that. I personally felt a little bit more excited for Fantastic Four, but again, maybe it's just me being MCU brained of, like, every post-credit scene is crazy. Like, again, I'm rewatching all the old Marvel movies. It's so funny how many post-credit scenes led to nothing, Yeah.
That's what they've said about this one is since Endgame, the number of post-credit scenes that have actually
come to fruition,
yielded any kind of fruit, have been not a lot.
No, it's been few and far between.
And it's because of this absolutely chaotic shift and move and renaming and, like, all this stuff that they've had to do with trying to map out their next 2 years, their next 4 years, their next arc. I just feel like the arc from the first one that ended with Endgame was just came naturally. Like, it just came, it flowed, because I think really, especially in those early shows, like, I don't think they really knew what they had on their hands. Like, I think they knew, like, okay, it's going well. People seem to be responding to it. I think it'll do good. Yeah. And then it did way better than they expected. Oh, yeah. And then as they started to piece it together and as they started moving forward, it was like, okay, this is getting, like, this is starting to tell a story. Yep. As you're moving forward. I feel like this one, they've been trying to mimic that last one so hard. Yeah. That it's just not working. Yeah. It hasn't worked to this point.
Yes.
So
and like we said, like, Thunderbolts was probably the best MCU movie since, again, Deadpool Wolverine, which isn't really an MCU movie. Endgame. Spider-Man No Way Home, which really isn't an MCU movie. It's a Sony movie. Yeah. Like, it really has been since Endgame that this has been the best MCU movie, right? So it's wild. So now,
I mean, I'm hyped about the Fantastic Four, but I was hyped from the trailer and the understanding of, where they're going or what they're trying to do with these incursions / multiple dimensions.
So we kind of alluded to this already, but, like, the next big thing after Fantastic Four is Doomsday. Yeah. So how do you find that if Thunderbolts New Avengers are going to fit into Doomsday, are they all just going to die? Like, we're going to get an Infinity War snap, like, almost all of them.
I think, like you said, I think you're going to see probably characters, unfortunately, like Ghost faded out. Maybe
Bucky dying.
Maybe even the Red Guardian.
Ah, that'd be sad.
Like, phased out of, like, being on the team.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see, other ones moving forward. I think Florence Pugh's character is pretty much a given. that she'll move forward because people are in love with her. Like, they just love her character.
Well, she's so good.
Yeah, and she's good. I mean, her character is so good because she's so good.
And I forgot to mention this during our review. I texted you the second I got out of the movie. Florence Pugh is the best part of the MCU. Yeah, she's so good, dude.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, I think you'll see basically a mishmash. I think you see some of those characters kind of move over to like a more mainstream Avengers team. And go forward from there. But I mean, as far as like what they're doing, like bringing Robert Downey Jr. over as Doom, and how this is all, like, we know that this is all eventually going to lead towards a Secret Wars.
Yep.
So what is the Secret Wars? The Secret Wars is probably going to be something similar to the Secret Wars that we most recently saw, where you saw a whole bunch of universes kind of collapsed into one world.
Yep.
And then once that separates, and then we go back to normal, all those people will be on.
Yeah, they'll pick and choose.
They'll basically do exactly what they did with the Secret Wars.
They'll pick and choose their favorites. Yeah. The ones they're kind of mid on, who cares? They're moving on, right? And that's when we'll get the new Taskmaster that everybody will love. You know, it's when they'll do that.
Yeah, and I just there's something about like the whole, like, I don't know. I'm curious and nervous about how they're going to portray Doom, in the sense of, like, is he Victor? Like, is he known as Victor? He just looks like how is this working?
Yeah.
Because if it's just Stark, and a Stark from a different universe that took a different turn that became Doom, okay, then what about Victor Von Doom?
Yeah.
Because the real Doom, I don't care how good he does as a bad Stark that's playing Doom, if you don't have Victor Von Doom, the character of Victor Von Doom, who is amazing,
yep,
you are missing the point
100%.
Entirely. So I'm very nervous about what all of this is.
No, I 100% agree with you. Like, yeah, if they... I assume what they're going to do is hopefully, like, yeah, this is just evil Tony Stark, and then, like, they'll kill him at the end of Secret Wars or whatever, and then you'll get, hopefully, a new Doctor Doom that's just better, is my hope, but... I don't know. They obviously don't know.
Or they make him Iron Man.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? But yeah, no. Those are our final thoughts on Thunderbolts: New Avengers. Again, it's a really good movie, even if it still has its flaws. Yep. But it's a really good movie. Highly recommend you go check it out. Yep. Any final thoughts, Dave?
No, just like I said, very much enjoyed it. Loved the laugh. It's been a long time coming that the MCU's been able to put out something that you could just go and enjoy, have a good time. Yes, there's flaws like every movie, but at the end of the day, it was very enjoyable. Sure. You're not gonna feel bad wasting whatever it is now, $13, $15, $20, $60, whatever it is now to go see a movie. You're not gonna regret that.
Says the guy who almost dropped $4,000 on a comic book. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks so much for listening, everybody. Make sure to follow us wherever you find us. Make sure to let us know in the comments what you thought of Thunderbolts and what you're looking forward to in the next couple movies. And we'll see you all next time.
Catch you later.